Hi there, seventh graders. It's me, Mrs. Wyland, and I just wanted to give you some instructions about how you're going to do your lab today. But before you get started with that, I want you to just take a look here at what's on the screen. I just wanted to give a friendly reminder to those of you that have not completed either one or both of your weathering and erosion quizzes from last unit. Those are going to close up pretty soon where you will not be able to complete them, and then you would get zeros, which would be a bummer. So please take care of that. I'm going to give you B-Day students through the weekend, and by probably Monday at the end of the school day, whatever is not completed is going to turn into zeros. So that's the first thing I wanted you to take a look at. If your name's on the list, get her done, as it says up here. All right, next. Today you're going to be working on a mineral identification lab. And to do this, in order to be able to come back into the lab, you have to have packet pages 4 and 5 completed, which some of you started last class, and you have to have the Schoology quiz done. And you have to earn 9 out of 11 or higher in order to go back into lab. So what I need you to do is that if those things are not completed, which is going to be a lot of you for B-Day kids, I need you to sit in the front space and use the small orange textbook. You're going to read book pages 118 through 126, complete packet pages 4 and 5, then take that mineral quiz on Schoology. Once that is done, you can show the sub that your quiz is completed. You can show the score on your computer screen, and then you have permission to head back in the lab. So what I'm going to do now is explain how to do the lab, because hopefully some of you will get to that point today. All right. On page 8 of your packet, you have a data table that looks like this. Your goal is to get started filling out this data table. And what you'll have back in the lab are, I think it's 12 minerals. I've labeled them A through L. You don't know the names of the minerals, but your job is to test them with the test up at the top of the screen here, color, streak, Mohs test, and so on, that you have read about. And then once you're done testing, you're going to try to figure out the names of all of the minerals. So right now I want to show you how to do those kinds of tests. So the first test is the color test. That's super simple. So just look at your mineral at the table. Now what I want to do is show you, okay, so there's these cups in the back of the room, and they have a letter on them. So this happens to be mineral D. I don't know if you can see that, mineral D, and on the inside is my mineral, okay? So I'm going to grab the mineral and just describe its color, all right? That's all you got to do, and then write that down in your data table in the appropriate spot. When you do the lab today, you can start anywhere you want with any mineral letter. You can work alone, you can work in small groups, that's just fine. Do not put any minerals in your mouth. That is the one test you're not allowed to do, okay? But you can use your other senses to try to figure out what minerals you have. Okay, so we talked about the color test. Next comes the streak test. So for that one, you're going to take one of these. This is called a streak plate. This one has been used a lot, you can see today. Sometimes the streak plate comes another color. Hold on a second, let me look. All right, I'm back. Here it is. Here's the other one. So there we go. So sometimes they're kind of this gray color, sometimes they're the white. Okay, so to do the streak test, you take your mineral and you scratch it across the streak plate, and you're trying to see if it leaves a colorful powder. Okay, so sometimes you got to try different sides. Okay, now if it does leave a powder, you describe the color of the powder it leaves behind. That's what you write in your data table. Sometimes you don't get a powder, so you just write no powder. Okay, that's all you got to do for the streak test. The reason we've got 2 different colors is sometimes there's a white streak that's left behind and it's hard to see it on this one, so you might need to use that one. All right, after the streak test comes the Mohs hardness test. This one's a little bit more involved. To do the Mohs hardness test, you've got at the lab station a, there we go, Mohs hardness scale. Mohs hardness scale goes from 1 to 10. A number 1 means the mineral's really soft. A 10 is it's a hard mineral like a diamond. And the way that you're going to figure out the hardness of your mineral is you're going to scratch it on a variety of everyday objects. So if I look at this chart, the item that has the lowest most hardness, you can see it, is your fingernail. So you're going to take your fingernail, and I actually put my hand on the table when I do this. See if we can video this. Super exciting. So put your hand on the table, grab that mineral, and see if you can leave a scratch mark. Now you go back and forth a little bit, but you also need to wipe away any powder and look closely. And if you see a permanent scratch, then that tells you that the mineral is harder than your fingernail. And because the fingernail has a hardness of 2.5 according to the chart, then I know that this mineral has a hardness greater than 2.5. But that's not exactly narrow enough of a range for me, so I need you to try some other items. You could try scratching it on the glass mirror, which I have here. Okay, so here's the glass mirror. There's lots of them around the room. For the glass mirror, you're going to want to, of course, keep it on the table when you're testing and scratch the mineral across it. Make sure you wipe away any powder. If it leaves a permanent scratch, then you know it's harder than the mirror. If it can't leave a scratch, it's softer than the mirror. You also have a penny and a nail that you can use to help you determine the Mohs hardness of each mineral. All right. Next test is luster. Luster test is it's even more than just is it shiny or not. So this mineral here is definitely shiny. It's reflecting light. But not only that, is it looks very metallic to me. It reminds me of metal. Okay, so I would write in my data table that it has a metallic luster. Whereas this mineral here, okay, might be hard to see, but this mineral, it's not really that shiny. It does have tiny little specks, I guess, in it, but the mineral does not look like a metal, does not look metallic. So I would write non-metallic in that one. All right, next comes the cleavage and fracture test. So this test works by smashing the mineral. Now, I already got to have that kind of fun, so I smashed them all. And the goal is for you to try to figure out when it breaks, are all the broken pieces, do they break along specific angles? Okay, so let's see. I have to take you with me. We're going to go travel to another lab station so I can show you an example. All right. So the mineral I'm going to show you here has the property of cleavage. So what that means is that when I smashed it with a hammer, let me see if you can see this. Can you see it? I don't know. Okay, when you all of the pieces are very rectangular. They all look the same. There's distinct angles and sides. Okay, this shows the property of cleavage. If I smash it with a hammer and all of the pieces are random in shape, there's no specific angles that I can see, then that's the property of fracture. And you'll see at the tables with these plastic baggies, those have the broken pieces in them. And that's what you're going to use to look at. Make sure you put those pieces back in here when you're finished because they're super easy to lose because they're pretty small. All right, the next test is the magnet test. Super easy. If there's a magnet at a table, is the mineral magnetic or not? It's just a simple yes, no. The next one is the acid test. The acid test is something I'm not going to let you guys do. You have to use a strong hydrochloric acid in order to test the mineral for any bubbling and fizzing. So I actually did that test and videotaped it. I will show the results of that test to you next time when I'm in class. Then the last few tests, we've got how does it feel? Is it rough, smooth, feel slippery like soap? Describe how it feels for me. Smell. With that one, just be specific. Don't just say, oh, it smells yucky, okay? Because yucky can mean different things to different people. Instead, does it smell sweet, sour? Does it smell musty? So give me a good description. And then finally, this last column, the name of the mineral, that's going to stay open. And that is what you will work on the next class, where you will be trying to figure out the names of all of the minerals, and I will give you some more information to make that happen. So this is how you do the lab, and I do not expect you to finish it all today, especially because a lot of you B-Day kids have quite a lot of background knowledge to continue to build. You've got to finish your reading, you've got to do your quiz, okay? But hopefully you'll at least get a chance to get started, and then when I see you next time, you can finish. All right, have a good time in science. Have a good weekend.